express your creativity to the glory of God. Enjoy watching. Okay, hello everyone. So right now what you're seeing is my process for my creative prayer journaling page for Ruth chapter 3, which is the highlights page, the verses that I will be journaling on. I read through chapter 3 again, and I have um actually verse 5 and 6 that I will journal on, 10 and 11 and 18. So these are not the journal pages per se. This is just the highlight page. I did do an introduction to this, but I can't post that part of the video and I won't explain why. But you can see here what I'm doing as far as the creative part, and I'm just going to read the verses that I'm going to journal on and a couple of words that came to my heart when I read those particular verses. Again, this is not the journal pages per se. This is just my highlight page. So, verse 5 and 6, it reads, "And she said unto her, All that thou sayest unto me, I will do. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her." That's some advice that Naomi had given. Yes, some advice that Naomi had given Ruth regarding how to approach Boaz. And what came to my heart when I read that was wisdom from the wise and heeding wisdom. Of course, when I journal on the page, I'll go more into detail about that. And then verse 10 and 11 reads, "And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman." So right there, what stood out to me to apply to my life when I was thinking about it was really about waiting on God and not doing things in a haphazard way and trying to, how can I say, either get what we want in our own way or just maybe even settling for something. Again, when I journal on those specific verses, I will go into more detail. Last but not least is verse 18. It reads, "Then said she," which is Naomi, to Ruth, "Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will for the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day." So what came to my heart was God will come through, be still and know. And all of this is in mind with, Jesus being my kinsman redeemer, and Boaz was Ruth's kinsman redeemer. So I made a lot of connections there as far as the verses are concerned. So what you see me doing now was writing out the verses. Again, this is my highlights page, and you saw that I just ripped up some paper and in a creative type of way wrote the verses on it. I used some stickers to write out the word Ruth chapter 3. Now I'm taking some speech stickers and I'm going to write the verses inside of those speech stickers. So that's what I'm doing now. And it's a very simple highlights page. I'm going to show the highlights page I did for Ruth 2, chapter 2, and Ruth 1 here. Yes, so every time I start a new chapter, I read it again and again and again. And then I do the page, the journal page for um, the verses that I'm going to do. It's like almost like instead of me writing it down on a piece of sticky note, I just I will sketch it out if I feel led to. But I also like to do a journal page to highlight it. So that's what I did. You see verse 5 and 6 there on the top. Then in between is 10 and 11, and the last verse is verse 18.
We wait for you. We wait for you. We wait for you to walk in
So what I'm doing now is I'm writing down those phrases that I mentioned earlier when I read the verses. And they're just like little reminders to me of what came to mind when I read those verses, for life application and just the connections that I made, with Ruth and Boaz, or Ruth and Naomi, the connections I made for my personal life. I don't believe in just reading for theological purposes, but to also apply the scriptures to my life. And this is not teaching like in depth about these scriptures. This is me reading and then saying, where am I in these verses? How does these verses connect to my life? Do I see Jesus in these verses like a foreshadowing of Jesus? And I do. Yeah. Jesus is my kinsman redeemer, our kinsman redeemer if you're a believer. And Boaz was Ruth's kinsman redeemer and Naomi's was their kin. And I explained something about that in the previous videos. But right here I had wrote down some notes on some post-its, and these are more detailed notes. And they really helped me to get some understanding regarding what was going on in the scriptures, and then how I can apply it to my life. So I just wrote it on this. I like this paper here from this paper pad. The paper looks vintage. So I just wanted to remove it from the post-its and write it on this paper here, and then just attach it to the back of my highlights page. So when I go to journal on each of on these verses, I'm going to be looking back at that to help me, to jog my memory. And if anything else comes to mind, I'll probably just sketch it out in my other book, because I do have a book that I do some sketching out of information or pictures that come to mind. So right now I'm just putting a little border, and it's very simple, as you see. So I'm back, and as you see, my page is very simple. My highlights page is very simple for Ruth chapter 3. I actually wrote out each verse on these pieces of paper that I tore out, and I made like a choppy edge. I like when the edges look like this and not so much just straight. And I used the bubbles, the talk stickers, the speech stickers to put the verses in. And as you see, simple Ruth chapter 3. I use different fonts for that. And then I actually transferred my notes to make it a little bit clearer, and did some revisions onto this page right here. So I have quick notes so I can refer to when I do my journaling for each page. And so I'm going to actually take this and just fold it here and put it here with a piece of double-side tape. Well, no, I'll use regular tape. So I'm just going to do that real quick. Put it here. And I'll refer to it, when I do my journaling pages. Hold on 1 second. So that's a very, very, very simple journal page. Like I said, it's my highlight page. So going forward, I think I want to use some other art materials like my magicals. I have distress inks. I have quite a bit of stuff, perfect pearls and things like that. So I think for chapter 3, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more technical with my art page, creative journal, my prayer journaling pages on the creative side of it. I'm just gonna see how that pans out, but yeah, I just want to start using some of my other products. I have some, like, what is it, crackle, what's this thing called here? Yeah, this folk art crackle medium to crackle the pages and make it look like, you know, like the crackle texture and stuff like that. I have chalkboard paint. I have several things here that I want to try to start using in some of the journaling. So going forth in the hopefully the next 3 videos for Ruth chapter 3, I could be a bit more technical in my creative process. So yeah, so that's it for my highlights page, and I pray that you got something out of it. God bless you, and remember, Jesus loves you. Bye-bye.
To walk in the